back at it again here on Queen City News Plus with another edition of CSL Plus. Gabe McDonald alongside our CSL producer, Bobby Andrews, coming at you. We're looking at everything that the Hornets have been doing over the past week when you think about the draft and free agency. Also, talking a little bit of NASCAR with a street race coming up this weekend up in the Windy City, the second round of the in-season challenge. We'll talk about how our brackets are faring. Mine already busted. Not sure if you feel one out, Bobby, but it seems like everybody's kind of has been taking the toll on that. So we'll get to that in a little bit with Denny Hamlin and some other top drivers knocked out after that first race in Atlanta back in your neck of the woods over there in Georgia. But first, free agency, I think the NBA, when you think about just, the excitement around it, I don't know if there's any sport that really has more of an exciting free agency period than the NBA. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, it's kind of like as soon as the clock strikes, 6 o'clock the other day, Shams is already tweeting a whole bunch of stuff. Now, I'd say it's different because with the NFL, you get a lot of that tampering period. You get a lot of those things that trickle in before free agency even opens. But as soon as NBA free agency opens, the floodgates open. Yeah. So, you get to hear a lot about, what's LeBron James going to do? He's going to opt into his contract,
right.
So it's and then got some news about some Charlotte Hornets making some moves.
Yeah.
So we'll get into that here in a little bit. But yeah, I'd say free agency in the NBA is pretty much unlike a lot of other sports. It really is. It's super interesting to keep your eye on because, like I said, floodgates open as soon as that clock strikes 6.
Especially when we think about the parity that we've seen too in the NBA since, the Warriors went back to back. We've had a different champion each and every year. So it's tough to keep some of that top talent around. You look at a team like the Pacers and, Miles Turner now in Milwaukee. You think about Tyrese Halliburton, who unfortunately went down with his injury. So it seems like their, future completely altered there. Milwaukee has a lot of additions and subtractions. So you look around the Eastern Conference, really the NBA as a whole. Kevin Durant going down to Houston now. You're seeing that they're kind of trying to go all in. They bring back Clint Capella and make a handful of moves too. So I think when you think about just how different it is to have the same champion year after year, it definitely makes it an exciting time too. But you mentioned some of the moves the Hornets made. Jeff Peterson's been cooking, so to speak.
Chef Jeff.
I like that. I love that.
Chef Jeff Peterson.
I think we got to talk about the moves that they've made. You think about Spencer Dinwiddie, which just recently came down, bringing back Trey Mann on a 3-year deal, even going to getting a guy like Pat Connaughton from Milwaukee, bringing back Mason Plumlee. Of these moves up to this point, do any of them necessarily maybe move the needle for you, even the trade for a guy like Colin Sexton too?
I like the Colin Sexton move. Not sure, if he's going to be around,
True.
What's going to happen there. Well, I will say, like, Chef Jeff, as I like to call him, I feel like something's brewing. Some bigger moves are being, especially with Dinwiddie and that news.
You got so many guards, man.
You got so many guards. And not all those guys are going to sit on the bench.
True.
So Trey Mann's going to want some minutes. Obviously, we saw him, and he's been very good. I love Trey.
He was hooping last year. Only 13 games, a very small sample size, but in those games, he was about to be, no pun intended, the sixth man of the year. When I think about what he was doing off the bench, just about over 20 minutes a night, getting 14 points, shooting 40% from deep. He was a guy that really brought that spark off the bench, something that they certainly missed over the backstretch of the season too.
So I don't know if it's going to be, who's going to be involved in some moves, Connaughton or, some other guys, Dinwiddie, Sexton, and maybe even, if those guys are on the team to start the season.
Yeah.
At the trade deadline, never know what's going to happen with those guys. But, I like what Jeff Peterson's been doing. I like a lot of the moves that have been made. I think they still need to bolster that center position. Mason Plumlee does not move the needle for me. Talking about moving the needle, does not move the needle for me. So I mean, young rookie Cockburn, is he gonna be the starter? Who's gonna be the starter? Moussa Diabate. I love Moussa Diabate.
He brought a lot of juice too. But the guy's only 6'9". He's not a true rim protector.
Exactly. Shows a lot of effort. I love the hustle from Moussa.
Right.
But, it's just like, could they possibly move on from some of these new guys? I don't think that they necessarily will. I think, it's going to be more so they've got to find a center. If they can package some things together and go get some other pieces, I think that would be huge for the Hornets, specifically at the center position. So.
Absolutely. You got to build there because you mentioned Kalkbrenner too. I mean, still raw coming out of school, but obviously showed some flashes as well. There's a reason why they got him as early as they did in the draft. And I think you look at, obviously, a Moussa Diabate, they got to figure out some kind of depth there because I don't know if you want to go into the year with that being your center rotation when you think about all the guards they have. And even some of the guys that could potentially be on the trading block. I mean, you have like a Josh Okogie, a Seth Curry, some other guys, Nick Smith Jr., that, their future here may be up in the air too. So I think there's only 15 spots.
Yeah.
And you got, a ton of guards right now, no proven center just yet. So I think there could be some moves that they have to make so far. But I think you look at the Eastern Conference, there's a lot of flux there because you think about Boston and the moves that they've made, and now Jason Tatum going to be out for the foreseeable future. You think about Milwaukee, you think about Indiana. There's going to be some spots that could be open for the take. I mean, you have New York, who just hired Mike Brown today. I think a pretty solid hire for them when you think about what he's been able to do, a 2-time coach of the year, somebody that can probably get the best out of them. But we all know New York, when they get to that time, are they really going to be able to get over the hump too? So I think you're looking at a Hornets team. They've made some good moves. I think, like you said, though, this is kind of brewing towards something greater because it's like, all right, we got a ton of guards, a big surplus there. I know the game is more fast-paced. A lot of teams are playing small ball. I don't know if this is necessarily the best roster for that, so I would like to see them make a move there. But I think Chef Jeff, as he called him, a very fitting nickname. I think they're moving in the right direction, pretty sure, for the most part, at least for right now.
Yeah, and they got those 2 second-round picks in the deal for Connaughton. So, packaging those up and doing something with that, I think look for possibly the Hornets to do something with that. They have a lot of draft capital. So, with addition to veteran players,
True,
they could really, what did it cost for Mark Williams?
Not much.
Exactly.
You trade back. You're able to get Liam McNeely there, and then you're able to get a future, I want to say second or first there in that trade too.
So it didn't take much to get Mark Williams. Sure. Obviously, it's going to take more. I mean, if I'm Jeff Peterson, I'm on the phone with Miami. Calling about Bam Adebayo, to be quite honest with you.
That's something I think a lot of people would love to have here in Chicago.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, that's just, it's a half-baked idea, just, snowballing, throwing out some ideas.
Yeah.
But, if I'm Jeff Peterson, I'm calling about centers. That's my main focus.
That's what you got to do, because you look at the roster, the main thing, it depends on health, too. I mean, we've seen over the past several years, a lot of these star players haven't been able to stay on the court. LaMelo Ball only played in 47 games last year. Brandon Miller goes out with a wrist injury. But if you have these guys that you're able, these star players that you're building around, this quote-unquote core four, which I guess, losing Mark Williams, we'll see who the fourth is going to be, if Miles Bridges is even still here for the foreseeable future as well. And Jeff Peterson and Charles Lee, just hearing from them over the past week and some change, they're very similar to how Dave Canales and Dan Morgan are. Very developmentally minded, and they want to get the most out of these young players.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see all 4 of them on the 15-man roster.
Absolutely.
When you think about that 4-man draft class coming up.
Yeah, you got to see what you got in these guys. You got to see talent-wise. That's why I don't think that they're probably going to keep most of, if not all of these draft prospects that they have. So yeah, it's definitely it's an exciting time, honestly, to be a Hornets fan, because you're seeing your team actually make moves and improving the roster
instead of just staying kind of like falling by the wayside. Are we going to do anything?
Yeah, we'll ride on the coattails of LaMelo Ball all season. Well, he went down on injury, so I guess we're out. Oh, Mark Williams, he's coming back. He's coming back. Yeah. Oh, he's playing good. Oh, he got traded, and then that trade doesn't. It's just a lot of stuff that's gone wrong for Charlotte, and it feels like they're trying to piece it together and actually build around some of their pieces and on similar timelines. That's the most important thing in the NBA, on similar timelines. Yeah. So it's interesting to see. It's an exciting time to be a Hornets fan.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Building for sustained success. Jeff Peterson always says, we don't want to be a flash in the pan, make the play-in or the playoffs for 1 year and then be out the mix for the next 5. They want to get this thing fully right before truly making a run, and I think they're moving in the right direction for sure. So we'll see how things shake out. The season, of course, is going to be here before you know it. They put out the Summer League roster recently, so the Summer League's coming up for a lot of the young players to show what they can do. And then, of course, it'll be camp and preseason time before you know it, before we get back to the Spectrum Center for the 2025-26 season, year 2 of the Charles Lee era here in the Queen City. We got a lot more to talk about with the Hornets. We're going to hear from some of their draft picks, 2 of the first-round picks, coming up next right here on CSL Plus.
Back on CSL Plus, talking about some of these Hornets draft prospects. We got to hear from a few this week. Start it over.
All right. It's all good. All right. 3, 2, and 1.
Back here on CSL Plus, got to sit down with a few of these Hornets draft prospects. Some exciting stuff coming up for these guys, Gabe.
Yeah, absolutely. A week since the draft, and we're going to give our grades here in just a little bit on a couple of the first-round picks. But first up, let's hear from Con Knippel, the 4th overall pick from Duke. He sat down with our very own Mike Lissette recently last week.
Before we jump into the nitty-gritty here, I want you to set the record straight. 6'5" or 6'7"?
I'm 6'5" with no shoes on, so I'm 6'6".
So, but not 6'6". Where does 6'7" come from?
that's Duke. The inflation. They wanted everybody, gave everybody an extra inch, I think.
Because I'm 5'7", but I tell people that I'm 5'9" to feel good about myself. I didn't know if that works the same way, for basketball players.
It seems like it does.
You're coming here to Charlotte, not that far from Durham. Have you had a chance to compare and contrast the cities yet in terms of, well, this is similar, this is different?
Not really. Yeah, obviously Charlotte's quite a bit bigger than Durham. I've been around a couple of times in my time at Duke, coming down here to Charlotte to play. I came up here once just for fun to see what the city was like. But yeah, I mean, I haven't really gotten the chance to explore Charlotte too much, but I'm excited to be here for sure.
Obviously, you're not a North Carolinian. You're from Milwaukee in the Wisconsin area, but you got like a second home here. Was there a part of you that, I don't know, wanted for some great adventure, some uncharted territory, or do you like being somewhere familiar a little bit?
I really like being somewhere familiar, especially having that support from the fans here that in North Carolina that are fans of Duke and now are also Hornets fans. Having that familiarity, I think, is really important, and you feel that as a player. And
you have the familiarity and having Sion here as well. How much does that help with everything in the process?
Yeah, I was really excited yesterday. Some of the staff here sending me Duke text messages. I was really excited to see that happen.
You guys are taking over. You're just going to change the overall teal to more of a Duke blue, I guess.
Yeah. Maybe we have to get a little rebrand.
You come from a basketball family. How did that help shape you into becoming the basketball player that you are today?
It definitely helps. My parents both played. They love basketball. Obviously, me and my brothers also play. And it's not really just like basketball itself and the skills you learn, but the life lessons that my parents thought were important. How to work with other people, how to work hard, how to deal with adversity. Those things they thought were important. And that's why they wanted us to play, and that's why I love the game so much.
How competitive did it get in that household?
Pretty competitive.
Did you ever cross the line?
Yeah, I mean,
really?
Yeah, a lot of.
Oh, break it down for me.
Yeah, I mean, well, me and my brothers, we stopped playing for a while because they'd get mad. I was quite a bit bigger, so that they'd get mad when I started using some of my strength in extracurricular ways. But yeah, I mean, brothers, it gets tough in the house.
Did it ever get to a point, like, it seemed like, I know you love basketball, but did it ever get to a point where there's just no escaping this? Like, did you ever just want to break from the game, or were you all in the first time you ever touched a basketball and said, this is for me?
Definitely not. It took some time. Like, when I was 4, 5, 6 playing, it took me until about second grade, third grade to really start falling in love with the game. And I fell in love with the players in the NBA, like the knowledge of the game.
Who was your guy growing up? Who was your guy?
I played for Ray Allen Select, so I loved Ray Allen.
Really?
Yeah, Ray Allen I was a big fan of his.
Is that where your jump shot comes from? Do you have a similar Ray Allen jump shot?
No. I don't think it looks very similar, but definitely.
Ray was quick. He'd get up there.
Ray had one of the prettiest jumpers ever. So obviously you envied that as a player, as a shooter.
It seems like you got a little bit of a chip on your shoulder. I'm sorry if not with me, but like I've heard you say I'm more than just a shooter. How important is it that you want people to know that? Like, hey, you think you know my game, but it's not just this. I can do X, Y, and Z. Is that something you're looking to prove when you come in here?
Yeah, I think everybody was like, oh, he's a great shooter. I think I'm a great basketball player. I think I have an all around game. I've always had that. So I'm just trying to keep it going to the next level. Obviously the shooting is always going to be there to hang your hat on, but I think there's more to me than just that.
Just heard from 4th overall pick, Con Knipple there. Appreciate Mike for that interview and Con for the time as well. Real quick, Bobby, your thoughts on what he can bring to the team. Obviously coming out of Duke, a guy that was kind of, the Robin, the Cooper Flags Batman, but still came up in big moments when he needed to when Flag was down last year.
Yeah, I like what I've seen out of Con. I think, we talked on the show about 2 weeks ago with Mike, about how we've kind of seen Con's ceiling a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I'd like to see him shatter that glass ceiling that we have over him. But it's, he will be a decent, 3-point shooter. He will be a good guy to have in this roster. And that's the way the league is moving. It's moving towards 3-point shooting. And if you can score if you can put the ball in the hoop, like you're in good company. So, I like what Khan can bring to the table. I'd like to see what the future holds for him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you mentioned obviously the ceiling. I mean, he's even talking about, I'm more than just a shooter as well. I want to show what I really can do and kind of unlock Con Knipple 2.0. I think everybody around here would love to see that and what he could eventually become. And of course, having a facilitator like LaMelo, he's probably going to have a lot of open looks as well. So we'll see how he can shake out here in the Queen City. But the Hornets had not one, but 2 first-round picks last week in the NBA draft. Liam McNeely out of UConn going later in the first round. He sat down with our Joey Ellis last week after being introduced here in the Queen City.
All right, Liam McNeely is the newest Charlotte Hornet by way of Storrs, Connecticut. Just when you got the call, the dreams were fulfilled, obviously a long time coming, just those initial reactions, what were those? How cool was that?
It's just this sense of gratitude.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful to be here, have this opportunity. It's amazing to say I was drafted into the NBA, and I'm ready to get to work.
A lot of really good players have come through Connecticut and gone on to play in the NBA. How do you think UConn prepared you for this next level now?
There were a lot of eyeballs on us this year. Back-to-back national champions. Coach Hurley gets a lot of attention. I was a highly rated freshman coming into the season. So I think it helped me deal with pressure, and then being coached by a great coach. I'm going to receive great coaching at this organization, especially by Coach Lee. So I think Coach Hurley helped me with that.
Kind of going off that, Jeff Peterson talks about all 4 of these guys in this rookie class are all winners. How big is that trait to have in a franchise that frankly has struggled winning in the past couple of years?
Playing the right way and playing winning basketball is super important. There are a lot of guys that put up high numbers and have flashy moments and stuff, but some of them don't win.
Right.
And that's not good basketball. And I think I agree. All four of us play winning basketball, super competitive. Like I said, I'm real excited to get to work in the gym.
What sold you to this franchise? Charles Lee's obviously won a championship as an assistant before, and all the pieces are in place. Or what sold you that you would be a right fit here in Charlotte?
Just the culture.
Yeah.
Talking with Jeff and Coach Lee, those are the type of guys that I want to be a part of and play for. Especially with the guys that were drafted. I think we're all pretty similar in that sense. It's competitiveness and toughness, and we're team players. I'm excited to show that.
What do you like about this draft class? Obviously, a lot of different skill sets for all 4 of the guys. What do you enjoy about them from what you know, from what you've played against all of them?
First of all, they're great guys and great teammates. Kalkbrenner's real loyal. Probably the best defensive big ever in the Big East, in my opinion. Played against him 3 times. Sion's played his role perfect at Duke. He was a perfect pickup for them. Great leader, great vet, college vet. And then Khan, he had a great freshman season. So I'm super excited to get to play with all of them.
LaMelo Ball, Miles Bridges, Brandon Miller, a good core to build around here. Where do you see your skill set and what you can do on the court fitting in with those guys and really the rest of the team?
I pride myself on being very versatile. Do whatever the team needs, playing different systems, playing different positions, play with different rosters. But I feel like I can space the floor real well. Create space for Melo, Brandon Miller, and then drive a closeout when I get kicked the ball or knock down the shot, make a play.
Some draft gurus and whatnot had you kind of going maybe in the later teens. I think a lot of people may be surprised to see you go down to 29. Are you kind of eager to prove that, just your pick now to this point? How eager are you to just kind of show what you can do now?
Yeah, there's some names I got on my list to cross off. I take things personally, but, God has a plan, and I'm here for a reason. I'm very excited to be a Charlotte Hornet.
Charlotte's obviously very different from Storrs, very different from Texas as well. What do you know about this city, if anything, before you got here?
This is my first time in Charlotte.
Right.
I got here yesterday with Khan. It's beautiful, very green. I love all the trees and vegetation. And then the cities, everybody's told me the city is up and coming, 3rd fastest growing city in the country. So I'm very excited to be a part of it.
The sir from Liam McNeely there going 29th overall, part of that trade for Mark Williams. When you think about just his game coming out of UConn, a very historic program, somewhat similar to Continental, but maybe a little bit different. What stands out about him, and what kind of impact do you think he could have here in Charlotte, Bobby?
Yeah, I like the way that he can score as well. We talked about that with Khan, but McNeely is another guy who can score the ball. He had I think it was 5 games of 20 points or more in college. He can score the basketball. Yeah. So that's very exciting. As a forward, adding some more depth at that position, I think will be good for the Hornets. Any way that you can give LaMelo Ball opportunities to pass, to find somebody to score. I think it will take a lot off of him. Will create a lot more space in and around the basket. So, I like McNeely, and it's what they got in return for Mark Williams. I'm very thrilled with this move that the Hornets made.
Yeah, you mentioned the spacing, certainly going to be important, especially with LaMelo Ball, trying to find those open players there on the wing. Spacing, something that we've always said the Hornets need a lot of, and Liam and both Khan should certainly bring that to Charlotte. We got a lot more coming up here on CSL Plus. We're going to talk a little bit of NASCAR to wrap things up as we look ahead to the next race in the in-season challenge, the Chicago Street Race, coming up this weekend in the Windy City. Back here on CSL Plus, looking ahead to the weekend now as we get ready for the next race in NASCAR's in-season challenge, the Chicago Street Race, likely the final year of it in the Windy City. And Bobby, you actually got to go last year. Real quick, take me through that experience and what that was like for you.
Yeah, as a guy who's not really a NASCAR guy, if you watched the show about 2 weeks ago, I defer to you and Mike about literally everything NASCAR. The Chicago Street Race was really cool.
Yeah.
Now, it did rain for the majority of it, and we did leave the race because it was miserable conditions. So the people who stayed, kudos to you.
Yeah.
But it was super intriguing for somebody who's not really a NASCAR guy. It's a super cool experience. I would love if they kept it in Chicago. I know that it's probably not going to be in Chicago any longer. But with the storms and everything that's been happening, I think Chicago is a great city to host it. I think that's so cool. NASCAR cars traveling at high speeds, racing
Skyline
in
out
the
there.
streets of Chicago. It's just so cool. It's and one of the biggest cities, in America and even the world. So just a super cool experience. I would, I'd love to see it in Chicago again at some point down the road. But yeah, I had a great experience, except for the rain.
I think everybody's hoping for some better weather this time around for sure. And of course, there are talks that it's moving to San Diego next year, which obviously has a great skyline as well. But one man's going to be very busy in the Windy City this weekend, and that is one Austin Hill, who's driving in both the Xfinity and the Cup Series race. He caught up with our own Joey Ellis this week to talk about his double duty and how he's looking ahead to this weekend in the Windy City.
All right, Austin Hill is one of the best drivers currently in the Xfinity Series, the driver, the number 21 for Richard Childress Racing. We'll touch on more of the season to this date in a second. I do want to go back to Atlanta. You're the king of Atlanta, maybe not the result you'd hope for. No 4-peat there. Still probably a lot of takeaways, I'm assuming, when you leave there and now head to Chicago.
Well, it was a disappointment in our team to have an issue like we had.
Sure.
And, I was trying to stay on the racetrack during stage one. I knew we were having some sort of an issue. Car just kind of kept cutting in and out on me. At some point you're like, hey, I'm either going to stop on the racetrack or I have to come down pit road. So Atlanta's changed each and every time that we go there, and it's evolved. So for us, it was good just to kind of figure out some things for the next time we go.
You and Chad Haney know each other for a while, but now it's his first year for you actually on the box. What has been that relationship and just kind of figuring each other out as you go throughout the season?
Yeah, anytime that you switch over from, a crew chief role and you have a new crew chief coming in, you always are kind of questioning yourself as far as, are we going to be able to work well together or are we not? And I think him and I have kind of hit it off right off the gate. I know what I need to say on the radio to get the response out of him that I need on to make the car better. So I just think this entire 21 team has been really firing on all cylinders up until the last 2 weeks, and I feel very confident that we're going to get it back going forward here.
I'm not trying to make you sound ancient by any means, but you're one of the now older, more experienced guys in the Xfinity. There's so many young bucks now in that series with experience, with age, with the wins as well. What are you learning week after week, race after race, season after season about just staying at the highest level at that series?
Well, I would say it's very easy to get down and out on yourself, especially when you have two races like we've had back-to-back where we finish 20-something and 30-something. It's so easy to get down on yourself and think that, oh, nothing's going right, nothing's going my way. But I've been doing it long enough that I just know that this is a little bump in the road for our team. Just RCR as a whole, this entire organization has always just never gave up, no matter how many times you think you're down and out. And I think that that's what I can take with me going forward into when the playoffs get started, this upcoming year is, yeah, you might have a bad race, but don't let that one race define your entire season.
Busy holiday weekend upcoming for you, pulling double duty there in the Cup and the Xfinity. What do you like about racing in Chicago? Obviously, it's a course that a lot of fans, a lot of drivers like, and hoping it sticks around as well. So what do you enjoy about when you go there?
I love any type of road course that we go to. I would say that Chicago is obviously very unique with it being a street course, the atmosphere there, it being in the city, the first laps there at Chicago when you come out onto the front stretch and you see the big towers and everything out behind you. It's such a cool experience just because every other racetrack you go to, you don't see all that. You just see land around you. And here you see, big standing skyscrapers and everything else. So I have high expectations when we go there to Chicago on the road course for the Cup side.
As it sits now, everybody in the Xfinity is chasing that number 7, at least for this season. But you're as confident as anyone in this series. What gives you that belief that you can be the last one standing at the end of the season?
Really, I would just say this 21 team sitting here behind us, the grit and the determination that they have, the blue collar mentality that we have here at RCR, it goes a long way. And I think it links up with my core values and how I view life and racing in general. Having these guys behind me is all I need to be able to be successful, make it to that Final Four, and to be able to outperform the 7 car when it comes to Phoenix. All we have to do is be really good at one race. We know what we think it's going to take to get it done this coming up season, so we just got to go out there and perform and get it done.
Just heard from Austin Hill there, a man who already has 3 wins in the Xfinity Series this year in that 21 car. We'll see how he fares this weekend in the Windy City. But that's going to do it for us right here on CSL Plus on Queen City News Plus. For Bobby Andrews, I'm Gabe McDonald. We'll see you here next time right here on Queen City News Plus.
Queen City News Plus. Just search Queen City News on your smart TV's app store.